Hey there everybody, Susan here with Pumpkin Hill Stampers. I have a Stampin' Show and Tell to share with you today, and today I'm going to be casing a project from the Fall mini catalog. This one features the Boughs of Holly stamp set bundle. Okay, so we're using the Leaves of Holly stamp set for our greeting. We're going to use the coordinating dies for some of our elements. And then we're going to be using the Designer Series paper to create our floral elements, and then I'm going to take you through all the different parts and pieces. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Now you might notice that this card looks a little slim. So what I did was I cut it down to 4 by 5.5 because my Designer Series paper is 12 by 12, and that way I can get 6 cards from one sheet. Okay, so that's a cute way to kind of trim down your card size a little, but then you can get more cards out of your papers. So here are all my various elements. So let's just separate them out here for a second. We'll take a peek. All the different parts and pieces. So, like I said, we've got my card base, which I went with basic white. I have my first piece of Designer Series paper from Boughs of Holly. Okay, and this is the green with the stripes. And that one's just going to be 4 by 5.5. Here's the back side. But I'm using this side, so that's just going to go in there. Then I've cut from a piece of basic white, just a simple white 3-inch diameter circle using my layered circle dies. Okay. Then if you look at the card, well, you can start looking at our different pieces. So you can see we've got the flowers from the Designer Series paper. So here's our Designer Series paper, and you're going to use your scissors and do some fussy cutting. I've done one. I'm going to go ahead and do another one for you in just a minute. So that's going to be our floral element. Then with my gold foil paper, I have die cut 2 of these holly leaves, and you can see I didn't do the whole leaf because we're only going to use a little bit that poke out as an embellishment. In the sample in the catalog, they usually actually have the gold foil leaves that they're selling as an embellishment, but because I'm only making a couple of cards, I didn't want to buy a whole package of those, so I'm just making my own foil holly leaves with my dies. Then we have our textured elements. These are little, I think they're balsam wood dies, and we're going to color those with our blends to add these colored embellishments. I've die cut from some soft suede with the coordinating label die. We're going to stamp and emboss that with white heat emboss. And then I have the natural fiber ribbon, and we're going to use this to create these fun texture elements here. Okay, so all of that being said, now we have to actually make all the pieces, right? Okay, so first off, we've got our card base and our first layer of our DSP. So I'm just going to use the Tombow adhesive, right, our green glue as many people are referring to it. And I'm just going to add my adhesive to the back and then position that on the front of my card. I usually line up my edge and then just kind of press it with my hand so that it covers it from edge to edge, and then just give it a little pat down so that it's adhered nice. So now I've got my pre-cut. I've pre-cut it. You're going to have to cut your circle die. So again, I just used my layering circle dies. I did the 3-inch diameter. You could also use the new stitched shape dies, stylish shape dies, and do a stitched circle if you want. But I just went with that one, okay, because there's lots of texture going on here, so I didn't think I needed the added stitching element. Okay, so there's that piece. Now we can build our card elements from the top down or from the bottom up. I'm going to go ahead and take you through the top pieces down, and then we'll build it coming back up. Okay, so there's my base. I can set that aside for a minute because I'm not going to need that until we're ready to start building our card. Okay, so the sentiment. So I've got my soft suede tag. I've got my little Christmas greetings, season's greetings tag. I'm going to stamp and emboss this with my Versamark, and I'm just positioning that on my tag. And then I'm going to bring in my tray, which these trays are back. They're in the mini catalog. I got this one years ago, like probably 20 years ago. and then they retired, and now they are back. They're a fun tool, keep everything kind of nice and neat and contained. So I know you're going to see these in my videos quite often, going back many years, but if you want your own, you could get one now in the mini catalog. So I've just dusted that with emboss. Okay, and now I'm just going to use my heat tool and set that. So while I'm doing this, you'll see that it'll just change from powder to a nice shine of heat powder. Okay, so here we go. Let me get my bone folder to hold that so I don't burn my little fingers. So if you watch, you'll see that the letters start to get solid instead of kind of that dusted look to them. Okay, so there's our sentiment tag, and I really like heat embossing, especially sentiments, because it really makes them pop, and it lets you do this white embossing on a darker color, so that's kind of a nice contrast. Okay, so there's our sentiment. Then I've already pre-cut, like I said, out of the gold foil, my 2 holly leaves, so that's done. We have our textured elements. Now I'm going to bring in my blend markers. I've got Old Olive and Real Red, and these are really easy to add color to. So I'm just going to paint them with my blend markers. You could use your Stampin' Write markers if you have those instead, but we're just going to add color so that we can put them onto our project. And we can make them color match with the papers and the elements we're using. So it's a nice way you can customize your elements with items you already have. Alright, now let's do little berry ends. And these would be fun elements to even to use with other sets that have floral images as a nice 3D embellishment, because like I just said, you can color match them to whatever set or papers or project you are making. Okay, so there's one. Here is the second one, and look how quickly these are getting customized for our project, right? And they'll dry pretty quickly too, because I'm using the alcohol marker, so you don't have to worry about the inks being picked up on your fingers and transferred to your project. Okay, so there are our texture element. Now for our flowers, like I said, I'm going to use my paper snips, and I'm trimming out of this sample of DSP. So I've done the double one, but I'm going to do the single one for you. Now I know a lot of you know how to fussy cut, but some of you might be nervous. So I just come in with my scissor and I'm going close. I'm leaving like the halo effect, the kind of white edge around my image, so I'm not getting too close. That way all these fun little speckles that are on the paper aren't lost. So that's kind of more texture added to our project. And I'm just going to come in, and you can see my scissors, right, pretty much stay pointing straight up my paper away from me, and I just twist my image around under my blades. So you are in control of how close you're getting, how much of a halo you're leaving, and you can get quite a few of these flowers out of the 12 by 12 sheet of DSP, so you could make multiple cards from this set. Now remember, in my details below on the YouTube channel here, there's the link back to my blog post. So all of my projects, measurements, and the items that I'm using are all listed on my blog post. So you can always refer to that. You can leave me a comment over there, or you can subscribe right here to my YouTube channel, please do. It's a little button right below the screen here. And then each time I share a new project in a video, you'll be notified. And you can also leave me comments here on the YouTube channel. Let me know what you think of the products and the projects that I'm sharing with you. Okay, and if you have any questions, don't be shy. Go ahead and ask. That's what I'm here for, is to show you guys different ideas with our different products. Okay, then finally we have our ribbon element. So this linen thread is about 3/4 of an inch, and what they did in the sample was they sliced it right down the center. So one piece of ribbon, this is about 8 inches long, and you're just going to cut it down the center to make 2 thinner strips of embellishment. Now the edge is going to fray a little bit, but that just adds texture to your project. So don't stress over that. Alright, so there's my 2 pieces, and like I said, it might fray a little bit. That's okay. It'll all clean up. Alright, so let's build our project. Okay, so now we did our elements from the top down, now we're going to build it from the bottom up. So I've got my base. Now I'm going to first add my 2 texture elements, and what I did is I just put some of our liquid adhesive right along the edge of my circle die. So I place this one here, and I place that one there. Okay, and by the time we build all the other elements up, it's not going to be a problem that there's that liquid glue underneath, because it's going to dry clear and it's not going to be touching anything else, so it's not going to be worried about having a transfer of tacky glue residue. So there's that, those are going to dry. Now I'm going to add my ribbons. Now for these I'm going to use my mini glue dots, and what I do is first I kind of group it up, right, fold it back and forth, little zigzag, and then I take one end and I'm just going to press it to my glue dot, pick up one, kind of peel it off, and then I'm going to pick up another one. So I've got 2 glue dots on there, and then I'm just going to come in and put that on my circle and make that kind of flare up towards the edge. And I'm not going to worry about tacking all the rest of this down, because by the time I add these other elements on, it'll have weight on top of it. So we're going to do that again. I'm just making my little zigzag of ribbon. Take my one end, add my glue dots, just to kind of keep one end together, and this one's going down here. Okay, so we're just kind of filling in the corners. Okay, so there's that. Now we're going to add our flowers. Now you might think, why aren't you adding the gold next? Because I'm going to kind of put them in after, and you'll see what I mean. If you want to layer them first, you can, but I'm going to layer them after because I don't want them to fill up too much of the white space, so I want to have a little adjustment room in them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dimensional down right on my card here. The single flower goes on the top, so this is going to go right in like this, okay, more or less. So it's going to go right into that. So I've got these 2 here, so I'm just going to peel those up, and I'm going to position this one there. I'm going to make sure it's inside the edge of my card. Okay, so yeah, it's a little bit loose, but I can tack that down after. And then I've got my double flower down here, so this one's going to go like this. So again, I'm going to put one dimensional there, and I'll put another one over here. I'm just going to place this like that. Okay, again, I've got lots of space here. Now I've got my 2 foil die cut holly leaves, right? So I only need the end to show, and so I'm just going to tuck this underneath, and you can decide how much of it you want to show. And if it's a little bit long, just trim it, because no one's going to see the back side, right? No one's going to see the part tucked underneath. So now I'm going to add a dimensional to that one, and I'm just going to lift this up because I didn't tack it down, and I'm just going to have that little gold kind of poke through. Now I can add another dimensional here, so I'm just going to peel the backer off first, and then lift this up, put that down. Okay, so that's nice and secure. Now I've got this other one. So depending on how much of it you want to show and which way you want it to go, so like this one, I could actually have more of it going out that way, but I am going to trim it off. It's a little bit longer than I want it. So now I'm going to play with this. See, I could put it up like that, or I could come in like this, but this time I'm going to go up like that a little bit. So again, I'm going to add a dimensional, and then tuck that underneath. So it's just a little bit of that gold bling on there. Okay, clean up some of this off the edge. Okay, and then if you want to tack that down, same thing, I'm just going to pull up my dimensional, peel off the backer, and just lift and it's here. Okay, so there's that. And then we just have our sentiment. A little free there. Okay, so on this, I'm going to put a dimensional on this far end, and then I'm going to use my liquid adhesive on the other end, and I just position that along the bottom here, and there we go. So whenever you case a card, you're copying and selectively editing it, right? So it could be as close to the original sample as you want to make it, or it can be your own version. Don't worry about changing it up, right? And there we go. So I have two cards, right? I followed the same sample. They're a little bit different from each other, but I like them both. So let me know what you think. Remember, you leave me comments, and if you need to shop with me, which is greatly appreciated, I will send you a hand stamped thank you card along with a project kit with your order as a thank you. And I appreciate when you guys do shop with me. It helps me continue doing what I do to share with you. All right, everybody, have a great day. Do some fun stamping, and I'll see you again real soon. Thanks again. Bye-bye.